Commander Vorn of the Khalrix Dominion had conquered 47 worlds. 47. That number used to mean something. It used to make him feel proud, accomplished, like he was somebody important in this galaxy. But right now, staring at the small, pink creature slumped in the holding cell, he was beginning to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he should have stopped at 46. The human, they called it. Singular, one single specimen from a death world called Earth, located in some forgettable arm of the galaxy where nobody with any sense ventured. The creature was unconscious, which was probably for the best. Vorn had seen the surveillance footage from the capture. 3 of his best hunters, armed with plasma restraints and neural disruptors, had needed a full rotation cycle to subdue this one, small, apparently fragile mammal. "Sir, the specimen is secured," reported Trix, his second in command. She was a lean, efficient officer who had never, not once in her entire military career, questioned an order. Until today. "Are you absolutely certain we should keep it aboard the flagship?" "Where else would we put it?" Vorn snapped, more irritated than he wanted to admit. "This is a Class 7 Predator capture. The Science Division has been requesting a live human for research purposes for 3 cycles now. We deliver this, and our unit gets commendations, promotions, maybe even a mention in the Imperial Archives." Trix's tail twitched. That was never a good sign. "Sir, with respect, did you read the full report on Earth?" "I skimmed it," Vorn lied. He had not skimmed it. He had looked at exactly 2 pieces of information. Humans were made of soft meat, and they came from a planet with embarrassingly low gravity. Everything else seemed unnecessary. "Perhaps you should read it more thoroughly," Trix suggested, her tone carefully neutral. Before Vorn could respond with something appropriately commanding and dismissive, the human stirred. Its eyes opened. They were blue, which was odd, because Vorn had been expecting something more practical, like black or red. Blue seemed far too peaceful for a creature that had, according to the report, evolved from persistence hunters. The human sat up slowly, gripping its head. "Oh man, that is one nasty headache. What did you guys hit me with? Feels like I got tackled by a linebacker." Vorn's translator worked perfectly. The words made sense individually. Together, they were nonsense. "You are a prisoner of the Khalrix Dominion," he announced formally, activating the cell's audio system. "You will cooperate with our research protocols. Resistance is futile and will result in immediate termination." The human looked up at the observation window where Vorn stood. It smiled. Actually smiled, showing its flat, white teeth that were somehow more disturbing than proper fangs would have been. "Buddy, I hate to break it to you, but I have had worse Mondays than this." "My name is Commander Vorn, not Buddy," Vorn corrected stiffly. "You will address me with proper respect, or you will be punished." "Sure thing, Commander, not Buddy." The human stood up, stretching its arms above its head. Something in its spine made a series of popping sounds that echoed through the cell. "So, what's the plan here? Are we doing the whole alien abduction thing? Because I have got to tell you I have seen the movies. This usually doesn't end well for you guys." Trix leaned closer to Vorn. "Sir, it is displaying no fear response whatsoever." "It is probably in shock," Vorn decided. That made sense. Small prey animals often froze when confronted with predators. This was probably some kind of delayed reaction. Run the standard intimidation protocol. The cell's lighting shifted to red. Holographic images of previous prisoners, broken and defeated, flickered along the walls. A low-frequency sound, designed to trigger primal terror in most species, thrummed through the deck plates. The human watched this display with what appeared to be mild interest. "Huh, that is actually pretty cool. Is that sound thing supposed to make me scared? Because honestly, it just kind of tickles." Vorn felt something unfamiliar crawling up his spine. It took him a moment to identify it. Uncertainty. He had not felt uncertain since his academy days. "Increase the frequency," he ordered. The sound intensified. The human tilted its head, considering. Then it started tapping its foot in rhythm with the pulses. "You know what this reminds me of?" There was this club I used to go to back in college. Brooklyn. Terrible place. Great music, though. Had this bass line that went exactly like this. The human began making noises with its mouth that approximated the intimidation frequency. It was, somehow, mocking them. "Turn it off," Vorn said quietly. "Just turn it off." The cell returned to normal lighting. The human, still apparently unbothered, began examining its surroundings with the casual interest of a tourist at a museum. It touched the walls, tested the strength of the force field at the cell entrance, and then did something completely unexpected. It started doing some kind of rhythmic physical exercise, lowering itself to the floor and pushing itself back up again. "What is it doing?" Garm, the ship's science officer, had joined them at the observation window. He was clutching a data pad so tightly his claws were leaving marks. That motion pattern makes no sense. "It is expending energy for no purpose." "Push-ups," the human said, apparently having excellent hearing. "You've got to stay in shape. Never know when you will need to run from aliens or fight your way out of a spaceship. Plus, helps with the stress, you know." It continued this bizarre behavior for what Vorn counted as 60 repetitions. Then it stood up, barely breathing hard, and looked directly at the observation window again. "So, seriously, what's the plan? Are you going to dissect me? Run experiments? Probe me?" The human paused. "Please tell me you are not going to probe me. That would be super uncomfortable." Vorn activated his communication panel. "Science Division, this is Commander Vorn. We have delivered your specimen. It is contained in holding cell 7. Please send your research team immediately." There was a pause. Then a voice Vorn recognized as Chief Researcher Krell responded. "Commander, we need at least 3 rotations to prepare the proper equipment and safety protocols for a human specimen. The briefing materials alone are 700 pages. "You said you needed a human immediately," Vorn protested. "Yes, immediately, after proper preparation. This is a Class 7 predator, sir. From Earth. Surely you read the warnings?" Vorn had not read the warnings. "Just come get it as soon as possible." He cut the connection and turned to Trix. "We'll post 4 guards outside this cell. Armed guards. Tell them to maintain a safe distance and not to engage with the prisoner under any circumstances." "Understood, sir." Trix hesitated. "What are you going to do?" "I am going to read that report," Vorn admitted. "All 700 pages of it." He should have started there. 3 hours later, Vorn was on page 47 and deeply, profoundly regretting every decision that had led to this moment. The human home world was not just a death world. It was the death world. The place where evolution had apparently decided to run a grand experiment in creating the most aggressively resilient species possible. Earth had weather that could kill, animals that could kill, plants that could kill, tiny organisms that could kill. The very air contained elements that were toxic to most galactic species. The gravity was crushing. The temperature swings were extreme. And the humans had not just survived there. They had thrived. They had climbed to the top of the food chain and then kept going, just for fun. There were sections in the report about human endurance that made Vorn's blood run cold. Stories about humans who had walked for days without water. Humans who had survived temperatures that should have frozen or boiled them. Humans who had been injured so severely they should have died, but had simply refused to do so out of what the report called stubbornness. There was an entire chapter on human persistence hunting, a method where humans simply followed prey animals for days until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. Not because humans were faster. Not because they were stronger. Just because they could keep going when everything else quit. Then there was the section on human warfare. Vorn had to stop reading twice during that part because his translator kept insisting it must be malfunctioning. Humans had fought each other constantly for their entire recorded history. They had developed thousands of ways to kill. They had survived their own weapons multiple times. They had created planet-destroying technology and then somehow managed not to destroy themselves, which showed either remarkable restraint or terrifying control. The most disturbing part was the summary on human psychological responses. Humans, when threatened, did not freeze like sensible prey species. They did not flee like intelligent creatures. They assessed. They adapted. And then they fought back, often with whatever materials they had available. The report cited 17 cases of captured humans escaping from supposedly escape-proof containment facilities across the galaxy. At 17, Vorn was currently holding human number 18. A chime interrupted his reading. "Commander, this is Guard Zeph. The prisoner is requesting something." "Requesting what?" Vorn asked wearily. "It says it is hungry and would like food. It specified that it wants something with protein and carbohydrates, and that it is allergic to sulfur compounds. Sir, should we provide sustenance?" Vorn checked the report. Humans needed to eat regularly, approximately every 4 to 6 hours, or they became increasingly irritable and irrational. The report strongly recommended keeping human prisoners well fed. It used the word strongly 3 times and bolded it. "Provide standard rations," Vorn ordered. "The prisoner says standard rations will not work because human digestive systems are extremely specific. It suggests we have something called chicken, rice, and vegetables in our biological database and can synthesize that instead." Of course, the human was now dictating its own menu. "Fine. Synthesize whatever it wants. Just keep it quiet and contained." Vorn returned to his reading. He was halfway through a particularly horrifying section about human immune systems, which apparently treated deadly pathogens the way most species treated minor inconveniences, when another chime sounded. "Commander, the prisoner says the food is acceptable, but it requires water. At least 2 liters per rotation cycle. It says this is non-negotiable because humans are mostly made of water, and it will get cranky if it gets dehydrated." "Cranky," Vorn repeated slowly. "It used the word cranky?" "Yes, sir." It also said, and I am quoting directly here, that we do not want to see it cranky. It was smiling when it said this, but Guard Hess says the smile was threatening. "Provide the water," Vorn sighed. He made a note in his personal log. "Day 1, our 4 prisoner has already trained us to deliver food and water on demand. This is apparently normal." He continued reading. The report went into extensive detail about human communication methods, which were apparently incredibly complex. Humans used verbal language, facial expressions, body posture, hand gestures, tone variations, and something called sarcasm that the translator often struggled with. They could convey multiple meanings simultaneously, and often said the opposite of what they meant for social purposes. Vorn was beginning to understand why first contact with humans had been so complicated. Another chime. Vorn considered throwing his data pad through the wall. "What now?" "Commander, the prisoner is singing." "Singing?" "Yes, sir. It is producing rhythmic vocalizations that appear to be recreational in nature." "Should we make it stop?" Vorn checked the report. There was a section on human singing. Apparently it was a bonding behavior that reduced stress and improved morale. The report noted that attempting to suppress humans singing often made them sing louder out of spite. "Let it sing," Vorn said tiredly. "Just monitor the situation." For the next hour, Vorn tried to focus on his reading while the human's voice echoed through the ship's detention level. The song was about a road and walking on it, and being happy about walking on a road alone. The melody was actually somewhat pleasant. Vorn found himself humming along before he caught himself and stopped immediately. This was a problem. This was a significant problem. By hour 8, Vorn had finished the report and wanted to space himself out of an airlock. The conclusion was stark and clear. Humans were persistence predators who had evolved to outlast, outsmart, and outstubborn everything else in their environment. They formed strong social bonds, they held grudges, they never forgot injuries, and they had a concept they called revenge that they pursued with the same determination they applied to everything else. The report's final recommendation was simple. Do not capture humans. Do not antagonize humans. Do not underestimate humans. If you encounter a human, treat Treat it with respect, offer it food and water, and for the love of all that exists in this galaxy, do not give it a reason to be angry with you. Vorn had done literally everything the report said not to do. He decided to check on the prisoner personally. That was a mistake. He knew it was a mistake even as he made his way down to the detention level. But some part of him needed to see the human with his own eyes, now that he understood what he was actually dealing with. The guards snapped to attention as he approached. They looked nervous. That was new. His guards never looked nervous. Status report, Vorn demanded. The prisoner has been compliant, sir, Guard Zeph replied. It ate its food, drank its water, exercised for an additional hour, and then requested something called a bathroom break. We provided access to the sanitation unit. It thanked us, which was unexpected. It thanked you? Yes, sir. It said thank you, and that we were much more polite than the last aliens who had captured it. Vorn's heart skipped several beats. The last aliens who captured it? Those were its exact words, sir. But that was not in the report. Vorn added another note to his personal log. Day 1, Hour 8. Prisoner has been captured before. By other species. Prisoner presumably escaped. No one told us about this. He approached the observation window. The human was sitting on the floor of its cell, legs crossed in a position that looked extremely uncomfortable, with its eyes closed. It appeared to be breathing very slowly and deliberately. What is it doing now? Vorn asked. It said it was meditating, Guard Hess answered. Something about inner peace and staying calm, so it does not do anything regrettable. Sir, what did it mean by regrettable? Vorn did not answer because he did not want to speculate. Instead, he activated the audio system. Prisoner, I am Commander Vorn. I am here to inform you that you will be transferred to our science division for study within 2 rotation cycles. Cooperation will ensure your survival. The human's eyes opened. It looked at Vorn with an expression that was difficult to read. Then it stood up in one smooth motion that was far too fast and far too graceful for something that was supposed to be a soft, slow species. Commander Vorn, the human said, its voice perfectly calm. My name is Tom Brennan. I am a cargo hauler from Earth, Sol system. I was en route to the mining colony on Kepler when your ship attacked mine without provocation, under Galactic Treaty 7. That is an act of piracy and assault. You are required to return me to my ship and provide compensation for damages. Vorn blinked. The human knew galactic law. Humans had been part of galactic civilization for less than a cycle. How did this one know the treaties? The Khalrix Dominion does not recognize treaties with species classified as acceptable subjects for scientific study, Vorn replied, falling back on the official position. Tom Brennan nodded slowly. I see. So you are aware that you are breaking the law, but you are choosing to do it anyway. That is good to know. I want to make sure I am being clear about what is happening here. Something about the way the human said that made Vorn's skin prickle. You are in no position to make demands or threats, human. I am not making threats, Commander. I am making observations. Here is another observation. You have had me on this ship for 8 hours. In that time, I have been cooperative, polite, and non-violent. I have asked for basic necessities, which you have provided. I appreciate that. I genuinely do. Then you will continue to cooperate. Here is the thing, Commander. Tom Brennan stepped closer to the force field, and despite every rational thought in Vorn's head telling him the human was contained and harmless, he took a step back. I am being polite because I choose to be polite. I am being cooperative because I choose to be cooperative. But if you hand me over to your science division, if you start running experiments on me like I am some kind of lab animal, then I will stop choosing to be polite. You are restrained by force fields powered by our ship's main reactor, Vorn pointed out, trying to sound more confident than he felt. You cannot escape. The human smiled again. That same smile. The one that showed too many teeth. Commander, I have been captured by 4 different species in the last 3 years. The Vraks thought their neural collars were escape-proof. The Skelth thought their stasis pods were unbreakable. The Mordax thought their ship's security was impenetrable. Do you know where all those species are now? Vorn did not want to know. He did not ask. But the human told him anyway. They are all filing insurance claims and explaining to their governments why they lost ships, equipment, and personnel to one unarmed cargo hauler from a backwater planet. Tom Brennan tilted his head. So here is my offer, Commander Vorn of the Khalrix Dominion. You release me, return me to my ship with an apology and enough credits to cover my repairs and lost time, and we will forget this ever happened. I will even leave out the part in my report about how your capture team accidentally shot 2 of your own people with their stun weapons. That was pretty funny, by the way. Vorn felt his face flush. The capture team had not mentioned that detail in their report. Refuse, and I will escape. Not might escape. Will escape. And when I do, Commander, I am going to be extremely annoyed. Annoyed humans are creative humans. You do not want me to get creative on your ship. The observation deck was silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. Vorn looked at his guards. They were all very carefully not looking at him. You are bluffing, Vorn said, but he did not believe it even as he said it. Am I? Tom Brennan crossed his arms. Tell you what. Let me prove I am not bluffing. Give me 72 hours, 3 of your rotation cycles. If I have not escaped by then, I will cooperate fully with your science division. I will answer questions. I will provide samples. I will be the perfect little research specimen. But if I do escape, then you let me go, and we go our separate ways. Deal? Deal? That is ridiculous, Vorn sputtered. You cannot possibly escape from a flagship-class vessel while locked in a maximum security holding cell. Then you have nothing to lose by accepting my wager. The human grinned. Come on, Commander. Do not you want to prove that the great Khalrix Dominion can hold one little human? Think about how good it will look in your report, how you personally outsmarted a Class 7 predator. Your superiors will be so impressed. Vorn should have said no. Any rational commander would have said no. But Tom Brennan had poked at something deep in Vorn's pride, that part of him that had conquered 47 worlds and refused to believe that this one soft creature could possibly be as dangerous as the reports claimed. Fine, Vorn heard himself say. 72 hours. You will remain in that cell, under constant guard, with all security protocols active. When you fail to escape, you will fulfill your end of the agreement without resistance. And when I do escape, you will provide my ship, my cargo, compensation for damages, and a very sincere apology. In writing. Maybe a fruit basket if you are feeling generous. I like oranges. Agreed, Vorn said coldly. Guards, maximum alert, and triple surveillance. I want sensors on that cell monitored every second. If the prisoner so much as touches the walls, I want to know about it. Yes, sir, the guards chorused. Tom Brennan nodded respectfully. Thank you, Commander. This has been a very reasonable conversation. I appreciate your willingness to engage in friendly competition. You know what? You are not so bad for a 7-foot-tall reptile who attacked my ship and kidnapped me. I think we could have been friends in different circumstances. Vorn did not dignify that with a response. He turned and walked away from the detention level, his mind already running through everything he knew about the cell's security systems. Force fields that could contain a plasma blast. Walls made of reinforced titanium alloy. Sensor nets that could detect a whisper. Guards who had been trained in detention protocols for 15 cycles. One human could not possibly break through all of that. Could it? He went back to his quarters and pulled up the sections of the report dealing with human escapes. He read them again. Then he read them a third time. Then he sent a priority message to the science division, accelerate your preparation schedule. I want that human transferred in 24 hours, not 72. The response came back almost immediately. Impossible, Commander. Safety protocols cannot be rushed. We will be ready in 3 rotation cycles as originally stated. Not before. Vorn stared at the message for a long time. Then he activated his ship-wide communication system. All personnel, this is Commander Vorn. We are elevating to alert status yellow. All security teams are to report to their stations. All department heads are to review their safety protocols. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Khalrix appeared in his doorway moments later. Sir, we are not under attack. Why are we at alert status yellow? Vorn gestured at the data pad displaying the human report. Because I just made a very stupid wager with our prisoner, and I have a horrible feeling I am going to regret it. What kind of wager? The kind where if I am wrong, that human is going to escape, and if I am right, I get to look like an idiot for panicking over nothing. Vorn rubbed his eyes. Either way, I lose. Khalrix picked up the datapad and started reading. Her tail began twitching faster and faster as she scrolled through the pages. When she finally looked up, her expression matched exactly how Vorn felt. Sir, with all due respect, what were you thinking? I was not, Vorn admitted. That is the problem. Down in the detention level, Tom Brennan finished his evening stretches, requested a blanket, thanked the guards politely when they provided one, and settled down to sleep. To anyone watching, he looked completely relaxed, completely resigned to his situation. But as he closed his eyes, Tom Brennan smiled one more time. A small smile. A private smile. The kind of smile that suggested he knew something no one else did. The countdown had begun. 72 hours until freedom. Or until Commander Vorn learned exactly why you should always read the full report before capturing a human. Hour 12 of the 72-hour countdown, and Commander Vorn had not slept. Sleep seemed like an unnecessary luxury when you were waiting for a soft, eating pink mammal to somehow break through multiple layers of military-grade security that had been designed by the finest engineers in the Khalrix Dominion. The human, Tom Brennan, had slept beautifully. 8 full hours of uninterrupted rest, according to the guards. He had even snored, which was apparently a normal human breathing dysfunction that occurred during sleep. The sound had been loud enough that Guard Zeph had checked 3 times to make sure the prisoner was not suffocating. Now, at hour 12, Tom Brennan was doing more of those bizarre exercises. Different ones this time. He would stand on one leg, extend the other leg behind him, and hold his arms out to the sides. He looked like a demented bird. Then he would switch legs. Then he would lower himself into a deep crouch and hold it until Vorn's own legs ached just from watching. Status report, Vorn demanded from the observation deck. No change, sir, Guard Hess replied. The prisoner has been exercising for 43 minutes. Heart rate is elevated but stable. No attempts to breach containment. No suspicious behavior. All of its behavior is suspicious, Vorn muttered. He had been reviewing security footage from the past 12 hours, looking for any sign of escape preparation. Tom Brennan had done nothing except eat, sleep, exercise, and hum various Earth songs. The human appeared to be enjoying its captivity. That could not possibly be normal. Khalrix joined him at the window, carrying 2 cups of stimulant beverage. She offered one to Vorn. You need to rest, sir. You are making yourself ill over this. I cannot rest while that creature is planning something, Vorn said, but he took the beverage anyway. Look at it. Does that look like a prisoner who has accepted defeat? Tom Brennan had moved on to some kind of stretching routine that involved bending his body into positions that looked anatomically improbable. His flexibility was disturbing. Most species could not bend that way without breaking important internal structures. It looks like a prisoner who is staying limber, Khalrix observed. Sir, perhaps you are overthinking this. The cell has held exactly 147 prisoners over the past 3 cycles. Not one has escaped. The security systems are flawless. Vorn wanted to believe that. He truly did. But he had now read the report 4 times, and each time he found some new, horrifying detail about human capabilities that made him question every assumption he had ever made about biology and physics. Did you know? Vorn said slowly. That humans can voluntarily dislocate their own joints if they need to fit through small spaces? And then relocate those joints afterward? It is in the medical section. Subsection 7. They call it being double-jointed, except they are not actually double-jointed. They are just absurdly flexible. Khalrix's tail stopped moving. Why would evolution create something that can take itself apart? The report suggests it was useful for escaping from predators, or for climbing, or for reaching food in difficult places. Humans have dozens of reasons for every adaptation. Vorn took a long drink of his beverage. I am starting to think Earth is less of a planet and more of a galactic joke at our expense. Down in the cell, Tom Brennan finished his stretches and approached the force field. He did not touch it. He just stood there, examining it with the kind of casual interest someone might give to an interesting insect. "Hey, Guard Hess," Tom called out. "Quick question. What happens if the power to this force field gets interrupted? Does it fail closed or fail open?" Guard Hess looked at Commander Vorn through the observation window, uncertainty clear on his face. Vorn activated the audio system. "Why do you want to know, prisoner?" "Just curious," Tom replied cheerfully. "Back on Earth, safety regulations require that prison cells fail open during power outages. You know, so people do not get trapped and suffocate if the life support dies. But I am guessing the Khalrix Dominion has different standards. Our power systems do not fail," Vorn said coldly. "The flagship has 17 redundant reactors." 17. Wow, that is actually impressive. Tom nodded appreciatively. So even if, hypothetically, someone managed to sabotage the main power grid, the backup systems would kick in immediately. Smart design. Your engineers really thought of everything. Vorn felt his scales prickle. You cannot sabotage anything from inside that cell. Oh, absolutely not. I am completely contained. Cannot touch anything except these walls, this floor, and this force field. Which I am not going to touch, by the way, because I assume it would be extremely painful. Tom smiled. Just making conversation. It helps pass the time. You know how it is. Vorn did not know how it was. He was too busy running diagnostics on every power system in the ship. All 17 reactors checked out perfectly. Distribution nodes were functioning normally. Backup systems were ready and waiting. Nothing was wrong. Nothing could possibly be wrong. So why did he feel like something was terribly wrong? "Sir," Khalrix said quietly, "the prisoner is engaging in psychological warfare. It is trying to make you paranoid." "It is succeeding," Vorn admitted. He checked his chronometer. 60 hours remaining. He could last 60 hours. Probably. Maybe. He sent another message to the science division. "Any chance you can be ready in 48 hours instead of 72? The response was not encouraging, Commander. "We cannot rush safety protocols. Human physiology is extremely complex. If we attempt to study the specimen without proper preparation, someone will get hurt. Please be patient." Patience was not Vorn's strong suit. He had conquered 47 worlds through decisive action, overwhelming force, and absolutely no patience whatsoever. Waiting was making him crazy. Hour 24 arrived with no incident. Tom Brennan had eaten 3 more meals, consumed approximately 6 liters of water, exercised for a total of 4 hours, and taught Guard Zeph a card game using a deck of cards that Tom had improvised from scraps of the blanket they had given him. The guard had sworn up and down that he had not provided the prisoner with any materials. Tom had simply unraveled a small corner of the blanket, used the threads to mark different pieces, and created a functional deck through sheer creativity and boredom. "The game is called poker," Tom explained while dealing cards to an invisible opponent. "Basically, you try to make the best combination of cards while also lying to everyone else about what cards you have. The person who lies most convincingly wins." "That sounds horrible," Guard Hess said. "It is extremely horrible. Humans love it. We have tournaments with millions of credits in prizes. Some people make their entire living just playing poker and lying to strangers." Tom arranged his improvised cards. "Want to learn? I can teach you the rules." "Absolutely not," Vorn said through the audio system. Birds, confiscate those cards immediately. Sir, they are just pieces of blanket, Guard Zepp protested. I do not care if they are pieces of cosmic dust. Take them away. Now. The guards retrieved the cards. Tom handed them over without complaint, still smiling. No problem. I can make more if I get bored again. That blanket has a lot of threads. Vorn added a note to his log. Hour 24, prisoner has weaponized recreational activities. Recommend not providing any materials whatsoever, including blankets. Prisoner will turn anything into either a tool or a psychological weapon. Hour 36 brought the first actual problem. One of the guards reported a strange smell near the detention level. Nothing strong, just an odd chemical odor that had not been there before. Maintenance was called. They checked the atmospheric systems, the waste reclamation units, and every pipe and duct in the area. Nothing was wrong. All systems reported normal. But the smell persisted. Sir, I do not want to alarm you, Trix said, reviewing the maintenance reports. But this smell started approximately 4 hours after the human requested a bathroom break. Vorn stared at her. Are you suggesting the prisoner somehow contaminated our atmospheric systems during a routine biological function? I am suggesting that we are dealing with a species that evolved to be creative under pressure. Humans have historically used biological warfare. It is in the report. Section 19. Vorn pulled up Section 19. Sure enough, there were detailed accounts of humans using everything from diseased blankets to contaminated water to create tactical advantages. He immediately ordered a full quarantine protocol for the detention level. Tom Brennan, when informed of this new restriction, simply shrugged. Okay, that is fine. I do not need to go anywhere. But just so you know, I am lactose intolerant, and that cheese you synthesized for my last meal might have been a mistake. Things could get pretty rough down here over the next few hours. The smell got worse. Much worse. Vorn ordered atmospheric scrubbers set to maximum. The Science Division sent an urgent message. Commander, human digestive processes produce various gases that are extremely unpleasant, but generally not dangerous. This is normal biology. Please do not panic. Vorn was absolutely panicking. He could not help it. The human had somehow turned its own biological functions into a weapon of psychological warfare. That took a special kind of evil genius. Hour 48. Halfway through the deadline. Still no escape attempt. Tom Brennan spent the morning doing more exercises, this time focusing on something he called yoga, which involved even more impossible positions and controlled breathing. He looked completely relaxed, completely at peace, like someone on a vacation instead of a prisoner counting down to either freedom or experimentation. Vorn was surviving on stimulants and paranoia. His scales were flaking from stress. His eyes were bloodshot. Every minor ship malfunction, every flickering light, every unexpected sound made him jump. Sir, you are falling apart, Trix said bluntly. The crew is starting to notice. They are questioning your judgment. My judgment was already terrible, Vorn snapped. I accepted a wager with a human. That alone proves I am unfit for command. Then end the wager. Hand the prisoner over to Science Division early. Tell them to begin their research immediately. Vorn considered this. It was rational. It made sense. But something stopped him. Some stubborn part of his pride that refused to admit defeat before the 72 hours were up. No, we honor the terms. Anything else would be dishonorable. Since when do you care about honor with a prisoner? Since the prisoner cares about it. Vorn watched Tom Brennan through the observation window. The human was writing something on the wall, using a piece of charcoal from his synthesized dinner. Mathematical equations from the look of it. That creature keeps its word. It has been polite, cooperative, and exactly as patient as it promised to be. The least I can do is match that integrity. Trix blinked several times. Sir, are you developing respect for the prisoner? Absolutely not, Vorn lied. He was absolutely developing respect for the prisoner. Tom Brennan was everything the reports claimed and worse. Or better. Vorn was no longer sure which adjective applied. Hour 56. 16 hours remaining. The entire ship was on edge. Crew members were making mistakes. 2 minor accidents occurred in the engineering section. Someone in the kitchen accidentally contaminated an entire batch of nutrient paste with cleaning solution. Morale was plummeting. And Tom Brennan was singing again. A song about surviving, about being strong, about getting knocked down and standing back up. The melody was infuriatingly catchy. "Make it stop singing," Vorn pleaded with his guards. "We tried, sir. It just sings louder. It says the song helps it maintain a positive attitude." Vorn seriously considered spacing himself out the nearest airlock. Instead, he drank more stimulants and reviewed the security footage for the 100th time, looking for any clue, any hint of an escape plan. He found nothing. Tom Brennan had literally done nothing suspicious. The human had been a model prisoner, polite, respectful, careful not to cause any real trouble. That was somehow more terrifying than if the prisoner had been violent or aggressive. Hour 60. 12 hours left. The Science Division sent their final preparation message. "Commander, we are ready to receive the specimen in 12 hours. All safety protocols are in place. Transport team will arrive at the detention level at hour 72 exactly." Vorn almost felt relieved. Almost. He sent back confirmation and then returned to his vigil at the observation window. Tom Brennan was sitting cross-legged on the floor again, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Meditating. He had been meditating for 2 hours straight without moving. His heart rate had dropped to barely 50 beats per minute. The medical sensors kept flagging him as potentially unconscious, but he was clearly awake, just absurdly calm. "How does it do that?" Guard Hess whispered. "How does any living thing slow down that much without dying?" "Humans practice something called meditation for mental clarity and stress reduction," Vorn recited from memory. He had memorized large sections of the report at this point. They can control their autonomic functions through focused thought, heart rate, breathing, even pain response. They train themselves to override their body's natural reactions. That is horrifying. "Everything about humans is horrifying," Vorn agreed. Hour 66. 6 hours remaining. Tom Brennan suddenly opened his eyes and stood up in one fluid motion. He walked to the force field and looked directly at the observation window, directly at Vorn. "Commander, I want to thank you for honoring our agreement. I appreciate your integrity. Not many species would keep their word to a prisoner." Vorn activated the audio system. "You have not escaped yet, human. You have 6 hours left, and you have made no attempts whatsoever." "Have I not?" Tom smiled, that dangerous smile again. "Commander, did you notice anything unusual about this ship over the past 66 hours? Vorn felt his blood turn cold. "What did you do?" "Me? I have been right here in this cell the entire time. I have not touched anything I was not supposed to touch. I have not damaged any equipment. I have been the perfect prisoner. You can check your surveillance footage. Every second is recorded." "Then what are you talking about?" "I am talking about the fact that your crew is exhausted, paranoid, and making mistakes. I am talking about the fact that your command structure is falling apart because you have been so focused on watching me that you have neglected everything else. I am talking about the fact that I escaped this ship approximately 48 hours ago without ever leaving this cell." Vorn stared at the human. "That makes no sense. You are still contained. You are still here. Physically, yes, but mentally? Commander, I have been living rent-free in your head since hour 1. Every decision you have made for the past 66 hours has been a reaction to me. Every order you have given has been because you were worried about what I might do. I have not needed to break through your security systems. You have been systematically dismantling them yourself." The truth hit Vorn like a plasma blast to the chest. The smell incident that led to the quarantine, splitting his security forces. The constant alerts that kept the crew on edge and made them sloppy. the stress and paranoia that made him question every minor malfunction. None of it had been accidental. All of it had been orchestrated. "You manipulated us," Vorn said slowly, "from inside that cell, without touching anything, without breaking a single rule. You made us destroy our own effectiveness." "I prefer the term social engineering," Tom replied. "But yes, basically. Humans are really good at understanding how other species think. We have to be. We evolved surrounded by predators that were bigger, faster, and stronger than us. Our survival strategy was not to be the toughest. It was to be the smartest, the most adaptable, and the most absolutely stubborn creatures on our entire planet. But you are still trapped in that cell." "Am I?" Tom tilted his head. "Commander, let me ask you a question. In 6 hours, your science division is going to arrive to take me away for experimentation. Your crew is exhausted and making mistakes. Your systems are stressed. Your ship's morale is the lowest it has been in cycles. Do you really think you are in any condition to safely conduct research on a Class 7? Predator?" Vorn opened his mouth to respond. Then he closed it. Because Tom Brennan was right. The ship was a mess. His crew was falling apart. The science division might have their protocols ready, but the rest of the flagship was barely functioning. Furthermore, Tom continued, "Let me paint you a picture of what happens next. You hand me over to science. They start running their tests, but they are tired too, stressed, not thinking clearly. Somewhere, someone makes a mistake. Maybe they leave a door unsecured. Maybe they get too close. Maybe they underestimate me just a little bit. And then I actually do escape. For real this time. And I am no longer a calm, cooperative prisoner. I am an angry human loose on your flagship with detailed knowledge of your security weaknesses because I have spent 3 days studying every inch of this detention level." Vorn felt sick. "You would kill people." "I would do whatever I needed to do to survive and escape," Tom corrected. "That is what humans do, Commander. We survive. It is our whole thing. And trust me when I tell you, you do not want to find out what a human is capable of when pushed into a corner with no other options." The observation deck was silent except for the humming of the ship's systems. Every guard was staring at Tom Brennan with new understanding and new fear. "So here is my offer," Tom said. "Revised terms. You let me go now, right now. You return me to my ship, you provide the compensation we agreed on, and I leave. Quietly. Peacefully. No violence. No sabotage. No revenge. I promise you, Commander Vorn, I will walk away from this ship and never look back. All I want is to go home. And if I refuse, then we play out the next 6 hours. We see if I actually can escape from this cell. And Commander? I gave you fair warning about what happens if I get creative. The past 66 hours? That was me being nice. That was me playing by the rules. If you make me get serious. If you make me actually fight to escape, you will not enjoy the results." Vorn believed every word. He turned to Trix. "Opinion? Bin." Trix's tail was twitching so fast it was almost a blur. "Sir, every tactical analysis says we should release the prisoner. The risk of continued containment far exceeds any potential benefit. The science division wanted a cooperative subject for research. We no longer have that. We have a countdown to disaster. The High Command will not understand this decision. Then we will explain it to them using the 17 previous examples of captured humans who escaped. We are not the first species to learn this lesson, sir. We are just the first smart enough to learn it before losing a ship." Vorn looked at his guards. They all nodded. They had all read the report by now. They all understood exactly what they were dealing with. Very well. Vorn activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands. "This is Commander Vorn. Change in operational status. The prisoner in holding cell 7 is being released immediately under terms of agreed-upon wager. This is not a drill. This is not a failure. This is a strategic decision based on accurate threat assessment. All personnel are to stand down from alert status and return to normal operations. He turned back to Tom Brennan. Your ship is still docked in our cargo bay. It took some damage during the capture, but our engineers have repaired it. Your cargo is intact. I will personally escort you to your vessel and provide the agreed-upon compensation. Then you will leave, and we will never speak of this incident again. Tom Brennan's smile transformed into something genuine, something warm. Thank you, Commander, seriously. This took guts. Not many officers would admit when they are beaten. I am not beaten, Vorn said stiffly. I am being practical. You are being smart. Same thing, really. Tom stepped back from the force field. One more thing. When you file your report to High Command, tell them Tom Brennan says hello. Tell them I am a cargo hauler, not a soldier. Tell them I just want to do my job and be left alone. Tell them that if they leave humans alone, humans will leave them alone. But if they keep trying to capture us, keep trying to study us like we are animals, then they are going to keep learning these lessons the hard way. I will include that in my report, Vorn promised. He gave the order. The force field deactivated with a soft hum. Tom Brennan stepped out of the cell for the first time in 66 hours. He was shorter than Vorn had expected. He barely came up to Vorn's chest. His limbs looked thin and weak. His skin was soft and easily damaged. Everything about him screamed prey species, victim, harmless. And yet every person on that deck took a step back when he emerged. Tom noticed. He laughed. A warm, friendly sound. Relax, everyone. I am not going to hurt anybody. I am just happy to stretch my legs. That cell was a bit cramped. Vorn led the human through the ship's corridors. Crew members stopped and stared as they passed. Some looked relieved. Some looked disappointed that there had been no dramatic escape. A few looked terrified. Tom waved at all of them, friendly and cheerful, like he was on a tour instead of an escort to freedom. When they reached the cargo bay, Tom's ship was exactly where Vorn had promised. A small, battered cargo hauler that had seen better days. The repairs were obvious. Vorn's engineers had actually done good work, replacing damaged hull plating and fixing the propulsion systems. She is not pretty, but she is mine, Tom said fondly, patting the ship's hull. Thank you for fixing her up. Your engineers did a nice job. Vorn transferred the agreed-upon credits to Tom's account, 50,000 credits. Enough to cover repairs, lost time, and significant extra as compensation. Tom checked his personal device and nodded approval. One last thing, Vorn said. He had been dreading this part. He pulled out a datapad with a formal written apology signed by him personally, as requested, in writing. Tom read the apology. It was stiff, formal, and probably the most painful thing Vorn had ever written. But it was sincere. Vorn had included a line about respecting Tom's resilience and courage, which had not been required but felt necessary. This is good, Tom said. Thank you, Commander. Apology accepted. He paused. You know, in different circumstances, I really do think we could have been friends. Perhaps, Vorn admitted. But I would prefer to never see you again. No offense intended. None taken. The feeling is mutual. Tom climbed into his ship's airlock. He turned back one more time. Hey, Commander, want to know the truth. About whether I could actually have escaped? Vorn was not sure he wanted to know, but he asked anyway. Could you? Tom's smile was answer enough. You will never find out. That is probably better for both of us. The airlock sealed. Tom Brennan's cargo hauler powered up, disconnected from the docking clamps, and flew out of the Khalrix flagship's cargo bay. Vorn watched it go on the external monitors until it jumped to faster-than-light travel and disappeared from sensors completely. The bridge was silent. Finally, Trix spoke. Sir, we just surrendered to a single prisoner who never actually attempted to escape. Correct, Vorn said. The High Command is going to ask questions. Let them ask. I will show them the report. all 700 pages of it, I will explain exactly why capturing a human is never, ever worth the trouble. Vorn settled into his command chair. It felt more comfortable now than it had in days. Change, of course. We are moving to the Outer Rim territories. I hear there are 3 unclaimed systems there that need surveying. We are abandoning our current mission? Our current mission was to capture specimens from uncontacted species. I no longer have any interest in that mission. I have learned my lesson. Some species are better left alone. 3 days later, Vorn received a message. It was flagged as low priority, routed through several civilian networks. The sender was listed as Tom Brennan, Cargo Hauler Sol System. Vorn almost deleted it. Curiosity won. He opened the message. Commander Vorn, just wanted to let you know I made it back to Earth safely. Cargo delivered on time. No permanent damage. I told the story of our encounter to some friends. They laughed a lot. I hope you do not mind. But I said some nice things about you. Specifically that you were honorable and smart enough to know when to walk away. That is rare in this galaxy. Most species are too proud. Anyway, I am attaching something for you. Human tradition. When someone does you a favor, you send them a thank you gift. This is a recipe for something called chocolate chip cookies. Replicate them using your food synthesizers and share them with your crew. They will improve morale. Thanks again for being reasonable. If you ever find yourself near Earth, look me up. First drink is on me. Tom Brennan. Attached was indeed a recipe. Vorn stared at it for a long time. Then, against every instinct that told him to delete it and forget the human ever existed, he forwarded the recipe to the ship's kitchen with instructions to synthesize a batch. 2 hours later, Trix appeared in his office carrying a plate of something round, brown, and warm. Sir, the kitchen made these. They said the human's recipe was very specific. They want to know if they taste correct. Vorn took one. It was soft, sweet, and contained small chunks of something that melted pleasantly on his tongue. He had never tasted anything quite like it. It was delicious. Distribute them to the crew, Vorn ordered. Tell them it is a gift from our former prisoner. Within an hour, every crew member on the flagship was talking about the incredible food the human had sent them. Morale improved immediately. People were smiling again. The entire atmosphere of the ship changed. Vorn added a final entry to his personal log, Day 5. The human has continued to manipulate us even after departure. Through kindness this time instead of psychological warfare. We have concluded that humans are absolutely terrifying in all circumstances. Have also concluded that chocolate chip cookies are extremely effective at improving crew efficiency. We'll be avoiding Earth space for the foreseeable future, and possibly forever. He filed his official report to High Command. It was brief and to the point, captured human specimen. Determined capture to be strategically inadvisable. Released prisoner under negotiated terms. Recommend updating all Khalrix protocols to explicitly forbid any future human captures. Species is too unpredictable and too dangerous to justify risk. The response came back 3 days later, report received and filed. High Command concurs with your assessment. All Khalrix vessels are hereby ordered to avoid confrontation with human ships unless absolutely necessary. Your judgment in this matter is commended. Congratulations on your 47 successful conquests. You are hereby promoted to Fleet Commander and reassigned to peaceful exploration duties. Vorn was promoted for surrendering to a single human prisoner. The galaxy made no sense, but at least he would never have to deal with another human again. Probably. Hopefully. He really hoped so. Somewhere on the other side of the galaxy, Tom Brennan delivered his cargo, collected his payment, and filed his own report with Earth's diplomatic corps. It was considerably more colorful than Vorn's version. It included phrases like scared them silly without throwing a single punch and taught them about cookies because I felt bad. The diplomatic officer reading the report sighed deeply. Tom, you have been captured 4 times in 3 years. "What are you doing out there?" "My job," Tom replied innocently. "Not my fault aliens keep thinking humans are easy targets. I keep trying to explain we are friendly. They never listen until it is too late." "You terrorized an entire flagship crew." "I was very polite while doing it," Tom protested. "I even said thank you. Multiple times. And I sent them cookies." "How many prisoners send cookies?" The officer rubbed his temples. "Just try not to get captured again." "I will do my best," Tom promised. He was captured twice more over the next year. Both times, the ships released him within 48 hours. Word was spreading across the galaxy. "Leave the humans alone. They look soft, they act friendly, but they are absolutely not worth the trouble." The Khalrix Dominion led the way in establishing that policy. Commander Vorn, now Fleet Commander Vorn, became something of a celebrity in diplomatic circles. He gave lectures on human psychology. He shared his report freely. He warned everyone who would listen about the dangers of underestimating Earth's species. And he always ended his lectures the same way: "If you encounter a human, be polite. Offer food. Offer water. Treat them with respect. And for the sake of everything you value in this galaxy, do not make them get creative." Nobody ever asked what he meant by creative. Nobody wanted to know. They had all read the reports. They had all heard the stories. Humans were terrifying. Best to just leave them alone. And somewhere back on Earth, Tom Brennan continued hauling cargo across the galaxy, humming old songs, doing his exercises, and being absolutely, positively, definitely not looking for trouble. But always ready if trouble found him. Because that was what humans did. They survived.